I share greetings, grand rising, a grand day, and peace and goodwill to you all. Once again, my fellow natural native earthly humans. Yes, you, my fellow Earth's organic humans and soulful humans, the world over. And I'm pleased to welcome you to this, the fifth in the series of my lecture presentation titled Redemption from the Curse of the Black Spell Revisited. I am yours truly, I, the Mystic Philosopher, and many thanks for stopping by and for giving of your time to listen and possible to be provoked into re-examining some of your long-held beliefs and maybe to think or to see things a little differently. Now, if you haven't yet watched or listened to part 1 and part 1 through to part 4, and in that order, I might add, I ask that you please do so before going forward with this part 5, or that you do so at your earliest convenience. This part 5 is the continuation of where I left off in part 4. And so by watching or listening to these presentations in the order in which they are done, and especially if you are a free, deep, critical, and analytical thinker, you will be able to get a much better and deeper understanding, and overstanding of some of the unique thought-provoking ideas, insights, and perspectives that I am sharing on the many different topics and subjects that I will cover throughout the duration of this series titled Redemption from the Curse of the Black Spell Revisited. So here in this part 5, I will continue to define, decode, dissect, and expound much more on the word word. And in order to continue doing so, I ask that you please bear in mind the meanings and the definitions of the word word, along with the following 3 related words, namely the word speech, the word speak, and the word sound. Now, first, let me define again for you the meaning of the word word. Now, the New World Webster's Dictionary of the English language defines word as follows, and I quote, a speech sound or series of sounds, speech sounds, having meaning as a unit of language. The written or printed representation, or the written and printed symbols of this, unquote. Second is the word speech. And I quote, speech is defined as the expression of or the ability to express thoughts and feelings by articulate sounds, unquote. And the third is the word speak. Quote, speak is defined as say something in order to convey information or to express a feeling, unquote. And the fourth and final word that I'll have you bear in mind as we continue this presentation is the word sound. You will see the relevance as we go forward. Sound, again, is defined as vibrations that travel through the air or another medium and can be heard when they reach a person's or an animal's ear, unquote. Now, let us look at the thing called word a little deeper. And by doing so, hopefully we may come to the understanding and overstanding that we are all related to each other. And though to some of us, this revelation, or even more correctly, this fact might be very disappointing and extremely upsetting, and quite possible it is indeed very disappointing and extremely upsetting. But as you too shall no doubt shortly see as we continue to examine the word, that we are indeed related. Now, can you imagine that some of, if not all of the people, the human beings and the humankind, the places and things that we scorn, that we hate, we resent, we despise, and imagine that we, things that we eliminate, if you will, and are trying to eliminate. Can you imagine that we are all related to it or to them? Or they are related to us? Just think about it. The person you hate the most, the person you despise the most. Anyway, and how and why are we related to them and them related to us? You, my listeners, might be asking and might be curious to learn. And the answer is, it is because we are all a part of a whole, or a part of the whole. Whatever you personally may conceive, believe, or know the whole, or that whole, W-H-O-L-E, not H-O-L-E, W-H-O-L-E, to be. Or another way of looking at it and saying it is, we are part of a source, or we are part of the source. Whatever we may conceive, we may believe, or we may know a source or the source to be. Now, by looking at and decoding the thing called word at a much deeper level, we will or we may discover the fact that regardless of how good or how evil we may perceive each other to be, the fact is that we are related. None of us are really and truly separate, or none of us are really and truly independent of the other. And none of us can be really and truly separate or independent of each other. However, we may only be separate or independent of each other in our individual mind and in our individual thoughts, meaning we may think we are, and in our thinking we may behave as if we are separate or independent. But if or when all things, or if or when most things are seriously and honestly considered, we will affirm that we are all connected and interconnected. We are all on board, and we are all traveling on the same spaceship. Yes, that spaceship called Earth. And some of us also call it a slave ship. Others call it a prison planet. Yes, anyhow, the planet called Earth that is floating or drifting aimlessly in space. And words are just one way of proving this fact that we are all connected and interconnected. And how do words prove that we are all connected and interconnected? When we speak, we utter sounds, or we utter words, and the words make sounds. Now you see the relevance of the definition of the four previous words. And the words we speak make sounds. Now, if there are no connection between us, the speaker, and the hearer or the listener, then nothing will happen, or nothing would happen, or even more correctly, no communication could take place. In other words, there has to be a connection, also known as a medium of communication, in order for communication to take place. The words we speak and the sounds we make vibrate the medium or the connection. Or if you prefer, the words we speak and the sounds we make while speaking, disturb the medium or disturb the connection between us, the hearer, between us, the speaker, and the hearer, or also the listeners. Eardrum. And the eardrum then forward that frequency vibration, or that disturbance, if you will, to the brain forward for processing, for decoding, for interpretation, and for information. We'll be looking at all of these words as we go along later. From this basic fact, logic coupled with or activated common sense will affirm that if we were not connected, or if we were not related to each other, then we could not hurt each other. No, we could not insult each other. We could not criticize each other. We could not put down or put up each other, etc., etc. The medium or the connection that connects us all and thus allow for communication to take place is the air space between us. And according to science, the air space or the air between us, or if you will, the space between us, is made up of things that are called air particles, or if you will, let's call it space particles. And it is this or these particles that the words we speak and the sounds we make vibrate or disturb, thereby causing them to form unique and meaningful patterns and means of communication. The truth be told, if one truly wishes to be practically separated from the rest of us humanity, or the world as we or the world as a whole, then one would have to place him or herself in what is known as a vacuum. And according to the record, the longest a human may survive in a vacuum is around 30 seconds. Here again is proof that we need each other, whether good or bad. We need each other, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, to survive. To give you another practical example of words and our relationship with each other, let me borrow a quote from Britannica website. And I quote, "Put another way, if you pluck a guitar string, the vibrations of the string disturb the surrounding air particles, causing them to move slightly forward or backward, forward and backward. The moving air particles in turn disturb the neighboring air particles, or disturb their neighboring air particles, which disturb their neighboring air particles, like a chain reaction, and so forth. That melodious sound of a guitar string you hear is really air particles being disturbed," unquote. And the same is true of the words we speak and the sounds we make. And so from all this we may confirm that if we were not connected and interconnected, then we could not love each other, we could not hate each other, we could not hurt each other, or in any way harm each other. And the evidence will also show and prove that it is also true, the power of words, that we love, that we create, that we hate, that we hurt, and that we do all manner of good or all manner of evil to one another. Now this will be the end of this part 5 of this series titled Redemption from the Curse of the B-Lock Spell. So please stay tuned for part 6, where I will continue talking much more about these things called words, thoughts, the universe, and by extension, the universes. In the meantime and between time, He is willing that you be more and much, much more. And definitely not be less. Be more. Don't let no one be less you. For I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe, 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 I say.